We're going to have a look at quite a few techniques across this podcast. And depending on the comments or feedback we get, we can look to extend various episodes in different ways to help people further. A place that we think is good to start, though, is to have a look at current conversions, whether you're an individual salesperson or whether you're managing a sales team, and to really be honest with yourself in terms of how well things have been going. Do you think that yourself or your team has maximized their performance, allowing for certain mistakes that of course occur? Or do you think that there's been quite a bit of slippage? Now, these are conversations to have. These are questions that anyone working in sales will have. But the biggest question of all is to assess what your understanding is of the performing averages. So if you're an organization, working with an organization, managing a team, or you're a salesperson and you're converting, let's say 20% of leads that can come through, are you happy with that in the norm? Now, quite a few people will say yes, because a 20% conversion is better than 10%. It's not quite as good as 30%, but as a good average, it's okay. And maybe the organization has experienced 20% conversions for quite some time, so at least you're on par. But what if we were to say that in most cases, it's completely viable to improve that 20% to above 40%. It's also completely viable to improve that 40% to above 50%. It's also completely viable to get way above 50% and start enjoying 60 or 70% conversions. Now, we start to lean into areas here that bring into marketing departments and leads, and we know the argument between sales and marketing. Salespeople blame the lead. That is a blame on the marketing department. The marketing department blame the sales team for not converting the leads generated. These are conversations and discussions to have. But if we were to say that anybody that comes through a sales process to speak to a salesperson expresses the interest in being sold to or to buy or to invest in what you have, how would that alleviate your mind in terms of your thinking to what your current conversions are? Now, your current conversions may be higher than 20%, in which case you're already on good turf. And forget about a job being at stake here or getting in trouble with the boss or the board. What we're trying to concentrate here is how to help you as an individual salesperson or sales manager achieve more, especially if it's a job or a role that you're getting into and you're learning the remits. And that's often a good place to be, because you can then start to perform way different without anybody trying to conduct any kind of average or trying to conform you in some way, or to be conformed. So the point that we're trying to make, and that we're trying to make quickly, which we think is important, is a lot of sales comes down to the mindset, and everybody knows that. But if you could start to understand the belief that people wouldn't be talking to you or wouldn't be allowing you to talk to them unless they were sincerely interested, starts to break a few of the remits that a lot of salespeople get stuck in. So too many salespeople only want to sell people that come along, that confirm that they're interested. But an organization doesn't need a salesperson then. It just needs a customer service representative to go through the motions of placing the order. But if you can start to cultivate the belief of the interest that someone has had to even speak to in the first place, it can start to alleviate some different channels that we can look at later to really help you develop further. So if a slightly lower percentage is due to other things, then these are things that you will need to consider. But if a lower percentage of conversions is simply coming from leads coming through, you've still got a lot to play for. You don't need to look to blame anybody. Improvements can be made all over. But it's pretty usual to say if you're converting 20% with current leads, you probably could actually convert 40% plus with the same. So before we move on to other episodes and other chapters and into other areas, start to have a think about that and be honest with yourself. Have you been truly honest with yourself for poor or average results before? Have you been honest with yourself with management? Lots of people get defensive, that's understandable. But if you can start to think and believe that there can be more positive channels to move on from where you are, then that at least starts to open your mind of different things that can be done, which we do think that we can help with depending on your sales process, the makeup, your organization, and how things start to circle and surround you regarding that. Of course, we won't know every circumstance, but the best we can do on these podcasts is to help and start to open people's minds. So let's leave it there for now on this episode. There's quite a lot of work there that we're asking you to do, at least in terms of being open with yourself, being honest, thinking about where you are and where your current results have come from, and start to think about where improvements could be made. That's quite a lot to think of. But the biggest task of all is to think about where you are and to start to find channels or to think about how you can open your mind to get even better results from what you've currently got. And that's what we're aiming to do with the various episodes that we've got in mind on this podcast. So let's look forward to doing more. Feel free to follow, subscribe. You'll see in the text details of this podcast our social media channels, and we're as interactive as we could be across all of the subjects that we've listed. But sales is, in particular, a favorite one.